I stared at the aged photograph, my fingers tracing the faded image of two smiling girls. Twins, inseparable. Olivia, my other half, had vanished without a trace. Swallowed by the imposing structure that loomed in the distance, Hollowridge Asylum.
Years had passed, but Emily clung to the hope that Olivia was alive. She was determined to find her. Emily had spent years researching, chasing dead ends and rumors. Hollowridge held the key, she was sure of it.
The asylum had been abandoned for decades, deemed unsafe after a series of unexplained deaths. Now it stood on the outskirts of town, a haunting reminder of a troubled past. Locals whispered tales of a curse, of restless spirits trapped within its walls. But I didn't believe in curses. I believed in finding my sister.
Tonight was the night. Tonight, Emily would enter Hollowridge. She would face whatever secrets it held. She would find Olivia.
I adjusted the strap of my backpack, filled with notebooks, flashlights, and a worn copy of Olivia's favourite book. It was a beacon of hope, a symbol of our unbreakable bond. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the task ahead. The air hung heavy with anticipation, the silence broken only by the chirping of crickets. Hollowridge awaited. The truth was in there, hidden within the asylum's decaying walls, and I would stop at nothing to uncover it.
The old iron gates groaned, protesting at being disturbed after years of silence. A thick fog clung to the grounds of Hollowridge, swirling around Emily's feet like ghostly apparitions. The air grew colder, sending a shiver down her spine.
I pulled my jacket tighter, my heart pounding against my ribs. Fear threatened to consume me, but I pushed it back. Olivia needed me.
The asylum loomed before her, a gothic silhouette against the dying light. Its windows, dark and vacant, stared back like the eyes of a predator. The stone facade was crumbling, scarred by time and neglect. Vines like skeletal fingers reached up toward the sky as if trying to escape the asylum's grasp.
I stepped onto the overgrown path, my footsteps muffled by the fog. Each step forward felt heavy, weighted by the oppressive atmosphere. The scent of decay hung in the air, a mix of damp earth and something sickly sweet. It was the smell of forgotten memories, of pain and suffering. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into the belly of a beast.
As she approached the main entrance, a sudden gust of wind slammed a shutter against the side of the building. The sound echoed through the stillness, sharp and startling. Emily jumped, her hand flying to the silver locket she always wore. It was identical to Olivia's, a constant reminder of their connection.
I clutched it tightly, drawing strength from its familiar weight. "I'm here, Olivia," I whispered, my voice barely audible above the wind. "Don't give up."
The heavy oak door creaked open, revealing a cavernous entrance hall. Dust motes danced in the pale moonlight that filtered through the grimy windows. The air was thick with the scent of decay and something else, something ancient and unsettling.
I switched on my flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the remnants of furniture lay scattered across the floor, victims of time and neglect. I stepped inside, my heart pounding against my ribs. The door slammed shut behind me with a resounding boom echoing through the silence. I jumped, spinning around to face the darkness. My breath caught in my throat, but there was nothing there. Just the oppressive silence and the weight of unseen eyes.
She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart.
"It's just the wind," I muttered to myself, my voice trembling slightly. There was no turning back now. I had come too far, faced too much to give up now. Olivia was counting on me.
With a determined set to her jaw, Emily moved further into the asylum. She ran her hand along the cold, damp walls, her fingers tracing the faded outlines of old paintings. The air grew colder, sending a shiver down her spine. But Emily refused to be deterred. She would find Olivia, even if it meant facing her deepest fears.
"You sure about this, Em?"
Jacob Thompson adjusted his glasses, peering nervously into the darkness.
"This place gives me the creeps."
Jacob, a tech-savvy college student and Emily's best friend, had insisted on joining her. He had arrived earlier, setting up an array of cameras and sensors throughout the asylum. His gadgets blinked and beeped, casting an eerie glow on the decaying walls.
You could be at home, binging horror movies, but you're here. You know how important this is.
Jacob sighed, fiddling with the wires connecting his equipment.
Someone's got to make sure you don't get possessed and end up as a permanent resident.
He tried to make his voice light, but Emily could hear the underlying concern.
Very funny.
Emily said, rolling her eyes. She appreciated his attempt to lighten the mood. Despite his nervous chatter, Jacob was a loyal friend and a valuable asset. His technical expertise might be their only hope of uncovering the truth about Hollowridge.
All right, tech wizard, let's see what you've got.
She handed him a blueprint of the asylum marked with points of interest she had gathered during her research.
Cameras are set up near the old library and Dr. Wells's office, right?
Jacob nodded, pointing to a bank of monitors stacked on a makeshift table.
Live feeds are up and running. Audio sensors are strategically placed, just waiting for a ghostly moan or two.
He grinned, but Emily could see the tremor in his hands. They were both scared, but they wouldn't let fear stop them. The asylum's interior was a labyrinth of shadowy corridors and crumbling rooms. Emily and Jacob moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing on the tile floor. The air was heavy with the smell of dust and decay, and a profound silence hung over everything. The only sounds were their own breathing and the distant dripping of water. They reached a room at the end of a long hallway. The door hung open, revealing a former patient's room. A rusty bed frame occupied the center, stripped bare of its mattress. Graffiti marred the walls, faded messages from forgotten souls. Emily shone her flashlight into the room, illuminating a small wooden table beside the bed. A book lay open on its surface, its pages yellowed and brittle. She approached cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. As she neared the table, she noticed something else, a name etched into the wood.
Olivia,
she whispered, her voice catching in her throat. The name was carved crudely, but it was unmistakable. A cold dread washed over her. This was it. This room held the key to her sister's disappearance. Jacob came up beside her, peering at the inscription.
This place is seriously messed up. You sure you want to do this, Em? We can still leave.
Emily shook her head, her gaze fixed on the name carved into the table.
we're already here, Jacob, and now we know we're on the right track.
Fear gnawed at her, but it was overshadowed by a fierce determination. She wouldn't leave this place without answers, not while there was a chance, however slim, that Olivia might still be alive.